so that you're designing not only your technique and your actual skills, but you're also encompassing this with the greater idea of networking and putting yourself out there. How you do this is kind of what I wanted to touch on here. And what that's all about is really, one, having a professional presence, and then designing that presence so you're only directing the kinds of story related material that you want the pros to see, and anybody like a recruiter or anybody out there in the professional sphere to see. You direct them to those materials. And that's basically one aspect of networking, okay? The other aspect is actually connecting with other people in the industry so that you can, one, build contacts, get some insider information, and then also make friends that you're going to have in the industry that you can rely on, not only for future jobs, but actually just for connections and support in general. That's one of the things that we like to focus on with Storyboard Art. We've set up these resources so that you can all kind of come together and make some headway when it comes out there. It's hard enough to do all of these like story materials, practicing every day, making sure your drawing skills are really strong. It's hard enough doing those things. But don't ever forget that there is a strategy when it comes to actually networking and putting yourself out there that I think is really important, and designing that so it's front and center. So what exactly can you do if you're just starting out and maybe you don't know how to go about this? So nowadays, it's actually a lot easier than you think, and social media is making that happen. Platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, those are all really common things that you should all be on if you're not already. Most of those are free. You can create a free profile on most any social media account. People are even using TikTok and some other ones that are art related so that you can put your material out there. The basics of it is just have a profile, start connecting with other people, and start posting stuff that is relevant to the career that you want to get into. Okay, that's really the key, is doing relevant material. And I think the other thing that you do want to start doing on these social networks is connecting with other like-minded storytellers and like-minded artists. So one, you should be doing that here. I recommend anybody who's following us to post your Instagram, to post your LinkedIn, and actually follow us online. At least you can connect with us, and then that could possibly connect you with other artists that are in the visual storytelling sphere, and that can network with other like-minded story artists. And then you can ask like industry questions. You can connect with these people who are doing this stuff. I should also point to you our public Discord channel. You can go to Storyboard Art /Discord and check that out. In fact, I'll pull up a link in a minute, and we can share that. But those are places where you can look for job recommendations. People often post jobs where people are looking for story artists, and that's one way of just doing networking. So it's really not that hard. Okay, so start there if you don't have those social media accounts open, right? The next thing you want to do is, this is like a little bit next level, but also much easier to do nowadays than it was before, is to start your own website. And there I can just recommend a couple free resources. You could try Wix, for example, Wix.com, and there you can open up a free account. Also point you to ArtStation, which is, for those of you who don't know, I mean, go on ArtStation to see the most amazing resources and amazing artists on there. You could create a free profile on ArtStation, and that becomes almost like a portfolio site. It's really well set up. A lot of people use it, and you can also connect with other artists and see what's going around in the industry. It's a good way to compare. It's also a nice way to see what other people are doing and how everybody else is laying out the work that you want to do. So a couple of tips when you're actually laying out your work, and I'm going to do this from the story artist mindset of things that you should be thinking about and doing as a pro when it comes to visual storytelling stuff. So I say often that you should be doing storytelling related material that you're posting on any one of these social networks or any website that you do, or something like ArtStation if you create an account there. So a couple of things that you should not do is post non-related story stuff. So if you're doing sculpture, that's great. I love any kind of art and creative endeavor. But posting a bunch of sculptures that have nothing to do with composition and storytelling and sequential art is not a good idea. You might want to separate that as a side thing that you do, but it's not your visual storytelling strength. It's not one of those things that you're going to be putting front and center. Nobody's going to hire you as a sculptor if you're doing visual storytelling, okay? So you want to do things that are going to show off your composition and your story skills that way. Other things that you possibly might want to, well, certainly I think that the most obvious thing is to post a ton of storyboards. Post sequences, post work that you're doing, single panel images that tell a story, that are in a compositional format. It can be sequential art that you do in comics, for example. That's something that you can post there and it would be considered relevant, right? The other thing that, that I would consider is simply just creating your own samples, putting that out there and seeing what the response is. You want to do this sequential art. Most of the time you do a 16:9 rectangular format. So imagine like your phone or any kind of like your widescreen TV, how that's in that rectangular format. That's how you want to compose your images and actually make these compositions there. So that's for starters, right? The other kind of more advanced level thing is to put a number of sequences that show off different aspects of your storytelling skill, okay? And these are things like doing dramatic sequences, action sequences, dialogue scenes versus an action scene. And this will show your variety. Okay, so once you got that kind of packaged in there, then the next step is actually to go off and do some networking, okay, and do some outreach. So what you can do then now is point those new contacts back to your social media channels and get some traction on that social media stuff. Now, is that going to get you a job right away? Is that somebody just going to like call you out of the blue? It might happen. And that's something that I know a lot of people, because they have their materials really well set up, that you do get an occasional cold call and you get work because of it. That's actually a really kind of fun and exciting thing to have happen, right? The next thing, though, that you really want to do out of this is see if you can make a connection with somebody out there doing the work that you want to do. And then you have to grow and nurture that connection so that you have something to go on and something that you can leverage for the future. So let me explain this a little bit. This is a little bit about having an insider contact, making that initial that initial outreach. You connect, you build some rapport through kind of asking questions or talking about films and movies. All this stuff should happen organically, right? I'm not talking about you have to be very mechanical and robotic and ask all of these questions. No, it should be more of a natural, organic thing that if somebody's working on a TV show that you're really into, you can ask them questions about how they got there. You can ask them about when they started working at that particular company and what it took to get on the inside. Most people really enjoy telling their story because it's been a challenge for most everybody to get there. And the artists that I know are very willing and generous with that information and willing to share stuff, okay? So that's something pretty cool that you can go in and take advantage of. Now, once you have that kind of nurtured contact, you got to keep that hot. That's kind of the idea, is that you work your contacts and you build up this like digital Rolodex, right? We were talking about this in the mentorship group last week, and I was really impressed by one of our guys, one of our mentee students who's going through the program, who has a very organized way of doing this. And he's building up this kind of digital Rolodex of contacts in the industry. The idea there is that if you ever apply to a particular company and you have somebody that you've met, either in person, online, or through your website connections, that you can possibly ask them if they're close enough of a contact. That's why I like to keep my friends tight and keep in touch with these guys, that you can actually hand them your portfolio or email them your portfolio. Usually the stuff is all digital now, right? So that's one way to do it. So and hopefully, now still doesn't mean you're going to get a job, right? But it's going to help you design the strategy, and you get your one step closer to reaching that goal. It's hard enough, like I said, to actually break in and do these things. So let's use the tools that are out there so that we can take advantage of these things where they didn't exist before. So what are some of the things that this is actually helping people do? Most of the time, I see a lot of success for people who are not in the main film centers like LA, New York, or London, or something like that. But they're able to connect with those people who are working in the studios that they want to work at. And they're still in these, let's say, non-film center areas. So you can be outside of LA, still contact these people, still show them your work. And that connection can either lead to a contractor position working remotely, it could lead to freelance work, or it could actually lead to a studio position where they invite you into like the LA studio or wherever they're located. One thing to keep in mind too, nowadays, the market is global. You should realize that. It doesn't all just have to be in the United States or all in Canada. You can really expand your reach and your search for people all over the world, studios all over the world. And there's talent all over the world, there's great projects all over the world, there's opportunity all over. So you should definitely want to look into that and take advantage of it too. So, hey, big shout out to those who are joining us. Shadow Jack, all right, man, you're great with some of these tips. I'll put this up on screen. Thanks for backing me up on this. The hardest part is trying to make sure that those contacts you make are genuine. Something where it doesn't feel like you're using or being used to go get in. Absolutely, what a great comment there. I always recommend being genuine and being yourself. Okay, there's no need to kind of inflate your ego or tell people you're doing things that you're not. I would always be honest, no matter where you're starting. Just tell them that, and you could say, I'm a completely beginner, and I'm trying to get into this industry, and I would love to connect with you because I like the work that you're doing. You know, that's for somebody maybe who's working at a studio that you want to be working at. There's no shame in that. In fact, that's very admirable. That's very noble that you're willing to put yourself out there and willing to improve and be honest, okay? You can also do things like, I just finished up this freelance job on a commercial project. It went really well. I would love to show you some work sometime. Here's a link to my portfolio, right? And you connect with that person and you send them that stuff. Again, the idea is you're building up your connections in a very organic and, just like Shadow Jack here is saying, in a genuine way, that you're being honest, you're also being helpful, and you might even offer some advice to these people for skills that you might have that they don't have, okay? So this is also something that some of our mentorships were doing. They pointed out that they were doing that they were doing some kind of skill share. And this could be like, if you have editing knowledge and you know a certain program, you can exchange information or exchange skill sets. Like somebody might know Toon Boom really well for creating storyboards, and you're a Photoshop expert, and you could share your Photoshop brushes, and maybe they can share their Toon Boom brushes, and you have a little bit of an exchange there, okay? So that's one way to do it. You build that rapport, and you build this kind of really a friendship. I look at this as, can you build a friend online? Is there some common ground with these people that you can reach out and talk to? Okay, so that's some way to go on. All right, let me bring this up. So Celine here is asking, do you think that the industry will be more open to hire remotely and work with people of different countries? Yes, absolutely. I think, this whole pandemic from the last year has been an awakening for many people to this virtual pipeline that out of necessity they had to start, right? I think the preference will still be for a while that there's going to be a studio setup and people working in a studio environment. They want to be close to the key creatives on the project. I think that's just the natural preference, especially if there's still a brick and mortar central location for some of these studios. Now, you'll notice though that there are satellite studios all over. Like, one company might have, Pixar for a while had a branch studio in Canada. ILM has a studio in Canada, in Singapore, and London. So they're all using a remote setup already. Just because they're under the same umbrella company doesn't mean in the future they're going to open this stuff up. So a couple of things to consider with that is there could be a paperwork hurdle to actually getting contracted by a U.S. company. And the same goes if you're being contracted by a company from, outside of the U.S. and you're working inside the U.S. But what happens there's a logistic thing that needs to, paperwork wise and taxes wise, that by getting hired, they have to fulfill their tax obligations and their visa obligations. So they might be still reluctant to do some of those things based on how they're legally set up within the company. I think that's going to happen more and more. The smaller companies like let's say a more nimble video game company who needs the work will probably be more open to hiring somebody outside of the U.S. if they're based in the U.S. They will most likely be able to pay U.S. rates. You might be able to negotiate, something close to those U.S. rates instead of like an outsourcing rate where they're trying to get something on the cheap because of the quality of the work that you're offering, right? I still say that really qualified story artists are still highly in demand, right? At any rate, yes, I think this trend is getting bigger and bigger. So what are some of the things that you can do to prepare for that? Is one, have a really nice studio setup, like a home studio setup, right? Wherever you live, wherever you work, that you have a working and solid computer, right? That you're gonna need that no matter what, just to even create samples on your own. And that could be, a really strong laptop or something pretty stable. The fortunate thing about what we do in visual storytelling and sequential art, most of the time it's still 2D, right? So you can get by with like a little bit lesser computer power most of the time. Some of the more sophisticated things would be like 3D, incorporating kind of previs or 3D techniques within your pipeline and your workflow, and that might need more computer power. The basic thing is that you want to have a nice setup where you can execute the project and execute the work at home, okay? Really good internet, get the fastest internet you can afford, okay? And make sure that internet connection is strong. Trust me, that's gonna be very helpful and useful. One of the reasons why, in regards to this question, is because studios are still using their main hub as the central server and file location. So in the remote environment, what I have heard artists are doing, they are piping in remotely to the central computer, okay? So the central server. So what does that mean? They're using a series of software, you're using your home machine as a virtual machine, and you're connecting with your work machine that you would be at the Disney studios, for example, or the Marvel studios in LA. And they have all of the assets, they have all of the software on those home server machines, and through like a HP Connect VPN connection, you're securely connecting with that computer and using those assets. So you never have those assets on your own computer. This helps with the security of these projects, and you're able to work remotely. So what you need there is a strong internet connection and also a pretty stable computer. So just make sure you have those things in order to be able to work remotely in a really strong way. So yeah, I actually hope this trend continues with remote work because that will open up many more avenues for many artists. So if you're a talented artist, working overseas, maybe you're in Asia or something, and you want to connect with the studio in Canada, you should be free to do so. Like that, those barriers to entry will hopefully go away, and we can connect and be creative, right? That's the whole point: is giving good service and also working on a cool project and being able to execute something really fun, right? So here we got a comment from Rajan, I think it is. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name here. It says, yeah, Netflix could not hire me full-time because I live outside the USA, so they just extended the contract when needed. There you go. Good for you, buddy. That's awesome. Good to hear it. At least you're continuing to work. Now, one thing that has happened before is these contract remote working relationships start out as a contractor kind of freelancer setup. And once they discover how valuable you are, and if you prove to them that you can do the work, that they rely more on you, and they might actually bring you into the studio. They'll do what it takes to get you that visa and maybe pull you in and actually work you into the real studio. Also the advantage is that you're working with the people inside that production. So you will probably be in contact with the producers and with the directors, And you can make those kind of personal contacts. You'll have those emails. You're interacting with these people probably on a daily, if not weekly basis to turn in your work already. And that way, you're kind of, let's say, on a first name basis. You're really close contact with these people because you're already on the team. So when you make yourself clutch, right? Hint, hint. You want to do this, okay? You want to make sure that you become indispensable for the production. That they will consider you first for somebody to come in-house and work there. And that's always a great opportunity. I really encourage those of you to explore options outside of your home network, okay? What does that mean? That's something I did early on in my career. I'm still open to doing that. I travel as much as I can to look for opportunities and also keep those contacts hot. That I worked in Europe for a while early on in my career, and it was a wonderful experience. I met a bunch of great contacts that I still keep in touch with. The project was really, really fun. I learned a lot. It was a wonderful just living experience, working in another country, and being able to soak up all the culture and excitement from that environment. So on many, many levels, it was very positive. I know artists who have gone and worked in Japan, in fact, and have met their significant others, and a lot of future things have blossomed because of those things. So I'm just planting those seeds in your head that it might be a fun and exciting opportunity to look into those types of job openings in a different place than where you live. Okay. So now, how do you get there? Going back full circle, man. This is all about networking. It's about connections and about putting yourself out there. I want to address one thing that I think is important for us shy and timid story artists, is that there is something to be said about one, being brave, having some courage, and putting yourself out there to be able to connect with other artists. Okay. Now, it doesn't have to be that scary. You don't actually have to, create a podcast or something and put yourself out there. It might be fun if you really want to try something like that. But if you're on the shyer tip, or you're just not confident with what you're doing at the moment, I would encourage you still to do the steps and have a website, create social media, and in your own way, find out what feels right to you to connect with these people. But I would highly encourage you to be brave and be courageous, to just put yourself out there and connect. There is no shame in telling people what you're doing, no matter what level of artist you are. Because the real truth of the matter is, we've all been there. We've all started at the bottom, okay? There is no one, there's nobody I know, there's nobody even in history that I've even researched or discovered that was born amazing. They really weren't. They had to be trained and taught and molded into an artist and grow from there. Some people have exponential growth, okay, that's true too, and other people learn at a slower pace, that's okay. But we all start somewhere. So no matter where you are, there's nothing wrong with putting yourself out there, letting people know that you want to improve, you're enthusiastic about working in the industry. And I think what you're going to discover is that we have there are many things in common with the artists that you're going to find out there in the industry. One, you probably find that you like the same content, you like the same movies, you might like the same comic books with the same artists. And on that level, you can connect really easily and really well. It doesn't have to be this awkward situation, right? The other thing is, you don't actually have to meet these people in person. This is like an online thing that I'm talking about as a start. If eventually you go to an industry event, then I still encourage you to go up, shake a hand, introduce yourself, let them know that you've met them online, maybe tell them your Instagram handle if it's not your real name, and share them your work. And then, I think you're gonna, 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna have a positive experience. And don't let that fear overcome you of somebody just brushing you off and you shying away from the opportunity. Even if that happens, I would say just let it roll off your back. That maybe that was a connection that didn't work out. No big deal. I mean, your world is not going to end because of it. Okay, just move on, go forward, and find somebody else. You're going to find somebody else who can become a friend and a network and a connection to help you grow in the industry. Okay. Cool. Let me put some more of these comments up here. Thanos here is saying, I've seen a lot of artists use iPad with Apple Pencil for their setup. Would that be a good starting setup to enter the storyboard industry, or just stick to a good laptop? No, absolutely. That's amazing. iPad Pro with Procreate is good enough. I mean, for all you want to be doing is creating sequential art, have a way to do it. And if an iPad is what you have, go for it. I mean, it's the quality of your work that's going to be important. I do recommend, though, that you have a good setup where that, you know, sometimes the iPad doesn't have the full, you know, capacity of doing like creating PDFs and image manipulation. Like you'd have to string together a couple of apps and programs like the Photoshop version on iPad or something like that. So figure out what can work if that's just the basic setup that you have, so that you can, one, quickly export and email your images to your client, to your whoever it is that you're working for. So that would be a good start. The next recommendation is, yes, get a decent laptop or a decent desktop, a cheap desktop setup. Could be used. You don't have to buy anything brand new, right? And the reason why is because you do want to at least have some programs that you can run on the desktop, like Photoshop and Toon Boom Storyboard Pro. Those are really common storyboard industry programs that you want to be working on, okay? Let's get Abby up here. I've worked in Los Angeles. Europe is the next big goal for me. Well, thanks for your comments on the stream. Great advice, by the way. I'm a 2D animator, but it crosses over with storyboarding constantly. Yeah, absolutely. I love your animation disc in the background, by the way, Abby. I have a couple of those. I got to dust off and at least show off, put up on my wall or something. Yeah, 2D. You know, I always say a strong 2D animator has the right stuff to become a good story artist, because they have strong drawing skills. As a 2D animator, you have to know about performance and staging for the camera. And so there's a lot of overlap from those skills. And you'll see that a lot of really veteran story artists had their start in 2D animation. In fact, I actually started in 2D animation myself. So great, go for it. Europe is going to be awesome. There's a lot of really good projects out there. Awesome, great comment from Shadowjacked. I'll put this up on screen so everybody can see it come through. If it's strong enough and you're able to get the work done, a tablet can work. But if you can get something stronger like a desktop with a tablet, that's optimal. Yep, for sure. Okay, another question from Abby. Do you have any advice on time management and self-care? When people start out, they often don't have resources to commit all of their time to honing their skills while working a desk job. Let me see if I can preface this question in the correct way. Everybody's situation is going to be different. If you're working a full-time job that's not art related, there is no way around it. You're going to have to find time in your schedule to continue your practice and your art, okay? It is very difficult, and I know how challenging that can be to juggle multiple things, right? So time management, here's where I would be very honest with yourself. Look at what you're currently doing, okay? And there's 24 hours in a day. Most of the time people are sleeping 8 hours a day. So that means you got about 16 hours a day that you're awake. Out of those 16 hours, like break down, find out, just track it for a week and see what it is you're doing. How many hours are you playing video games? How many hours are you on Netflix? How many hours are you just surfing the web and BSing on the internet? Okay. Now, these are some of the things that you really have to ask yourself. Is there something that you can cut out? And even as little as half an hour a day, can you do 10 minutes of drawing a day? That's going to push you forward. If you do that and you find that time, it's going to add up. You know, this stuff is cumulative. It just adds up over time. So that's what I would recommend. If you're in an ideal world, what you want to do, even if you're working another job that's taking away your time. So you mentioned that you're a 2D animator. Let's assume that you're working a full-time 2D animation job or any kind of animation job. That's going to be really intense and take up a lot of your work time. So when you get home, before you set everything down and you just like crash out for a while, is there like a window that you could take half an hour for yourself? I find that it's actually going to recharge you and make you kind of give you a little bit of a boost. And that is a little bit of self-care, if you ask me. One way to do that is on your lunch hour. When I was even working at a studio, I would do this with a couple of other work buddies, and we would go out, even if a half an hour, we'd go sketching on the workout. We'd grab a lunch, or we just have everything ready, so we'd eat as we're doing this, okay? And we take our hour lunch break and we do a quick sketch or even a location painting. And I did that probably not often enough, but it was something to do, and it was truly fun doing that with other people. So in that same line, one of the things that you should, when you say self-care, I also think about that not only mentally but also physically. I would highly recommend that you also take care of yourself physically. So get out there, do some exercise, do some meditation, do some yoga, whatever it is that you got to get your mind in order. I really enjoy exercising and like working up a sweat and getting my stress out, because that's one stress reliever for me. So that's one way to do it. And if I do that, I feel like, now I'm a little bit refreshed and I can go back to my day. So I know how difficult it is to do this kind of stuff. My biggest recommendation here is be ultra disciplined with your time management. And the last tip I'll give there is see if you can wake up early. If you can wake up a half hour earlier, even before you hit breakfast and stuff, just sit down and draw while nobody's awake, and you can go and do it. All right. Hey, awesome. Thanks, buddy. This is Playboy. Read your book. It's awesome, brother. Thank my friend. I really appreciate that. I will be talking about that in future live streams. So thanks for that. Let me hit the last couple of these questions and then we'll be out for today. This is great. So Jenny here is asking, I don't know why, but I have a hard time creating friendships or connecting with other artists online. It's difficult to come across as genuine and personable. Here's the first tip I'm going to give you, Jenny. I want you to connect with us. I want you to connect with us at Storyboard Art. I want to be your friend. I want to be there to help guide you, and all of us here at the Storyboard Art community. How you do that, go to our website, storyboardart.org. Also hit up our Discord channel. You can see the link to the forums. So not only are you going to connect with us just in general as an organization, you're also going to connect with hundreds of others. In fact, we're probably up to the thousands of artists in the visual storytelling space that are out there, okay? The other thing that you can do with, that I do my shameless plug, and I'll bring this up on screen where I have it, is the visual story course that I want you guys to go there. That is another way to connect with people, okay? It's free. This is totally free resource, right? All these things I'm telling you about is free, and doing that, okay? So I know it's not easy doing this stuff. So just keep at it. And you'll find that it's easy there. And well, it gets easier over time, I should say. And this is a comment. Thanks for backing this up here. So being ghosted and things like that do happen. So if you're emailing somebody for the first time, you may not get a reply back. That's okay. See if you can connect with somebody in an easier way with just a quick direct message on Instagram, a direct message on Discord, Facebook, and see if somebody's gonna ask you there, okay? Or I'm sorry, connect with you there. And then Abby again, for time management, I'm controlled by Google timers personally. Haha, yep, I'm with you. Thanks for asking a question I don't hear brought up often. To clarify, I work in tech and then freelance. Awesome. How about we all connect with Abby? Do us a favor. Just put up your Instagram, put up your social media, right in the chat, right in the feed. We're on YouTube and we're beaming to you guys on Facebook as well. How about we all connect with each other right now? Put that up on screen, put your Instagram handle, and even Discord, you can put the handle there too. Whatever way is best to connect with you guys, here's an opportunity. How about LinkedIn? That might even connect with your personal profile, okay? So awesome. I'm just looking at some of this chat. There's a great conversation going on in this chat feed, by the way. So I think one way I'm gonna, I'm just scanning this to see which one we can put up. All right, I like this. Here we go. Let me put up this from Alto. I like story friends. I'm in the Story Art Discord at June. Thanks, buddy. It's good to have you. And I think this is probably a good place to end it. Let's connect with everybody on here and do that. We'll have to continue this conversation because I think it's a really important one, and it's part of having your career focus. So there's technique, there's networking, career, and just getting all of these pieces together are really going to help us when we're doing it in the future. All right, guys, I'll leave this up for a minute, and you guys can connect with each other on here. Even after this video, you can come back to the replay, and in the comments, leave a comment so that people can find you, and that way we connect this way, and keep this connection going, keep the community growing. That's how we're gonna actually be able to connect with each other and get some traction for the future. My friends, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, and take care. Best of luck on everything that you guys are doing, and we'll see you next time. All right, take care.